We're diving into the tragic tale of a first-time player who just wanted to learn D&D and instead found themselves trapped in a 75-player Hunger Games of bad DMing. There were roll calls, loyalty tests, and one man named Pyotr who may or may not be God. Scuttle scuttle, just before we start the story, a huge thank you to today's sponsor. This is Odyssey of the Dragon Lords Remastered Edition. Made by James Olin and Jesse Skye, the creative directors behind legendary RPGs like Baldur's Gate, Dragon Age Origins, and The Old Republic. So I think, well, this is obviously one of the most qualified duos to ever make an RPG. Legendary catch. And I'd be right. This one is a fully updated, fully gorgeous, fully juiced up 5e campaign set in the mythic world of Thylia. They've taken the 2019 classic and packed in tons of new content, brand new art, and full 2024 rules compatibility. You're getting 4 deluxe books, over 1,000 pages total, with new art, new maps, new monsters, and new adventures. So my crustacean congregation, if you want to keep it crabby, use my link in the description. I will see you there. As you can see, there are only a few days left on the Kickstarter, so better soon than later. Roll post. I've been meaning to write this for a while, as when it happened to me, I knew it would be a funny story for normal D&D players. You'll understand why I said normal in a couple paragraphs. I started playing D&D in October of 2018 after a couple content creators tried it out and inspired me to do the same. Unfortunately, in my small town area, there are very few people that actually play, and we don't have a game shop to act as a central hub. Naturally, in the age of technology, I decided to see if there were ways to play online through Discord or something. I came across the Roll20 forums and the Looking for Games Reddit, and while browsing the subreddit, I found a group from a DM named Sia. It was accepting new players, and I hadn't even read the player's handbook yet, so I joined them and hoped for the best. Keep in mind that I had no idea what the norm was, and I cringed looking back at my ignorance. Because when I joined Sia's group, I found myself among 75 other hopeful players. See, Sia had this ambitious project of creating a D&D world, not a campaign. He was going to run 3 games a week, each with 3 to 10 players, all interacting with each other and the world. He wanted to narrow down the player base to about 30 people and name mods, and thus, the tournaments began. The first was a simple roll check every day where we would say something in Discord and show up to voice chat showing our interest in the group. So for 2 weeks at 2 PST, we would have people show up in Discord and basically just do a roll call. I had a pretty open schedule, and once again, I thought this was normal, so I didn't miss any roll calls. The second trial was character creation within our specific subgroups. We were divided into groups of 10 and had to create characters with each other and then present our characters in front of Sia, all to demonstrate that we could create interesting and unique characters. I made a high elf rogue with a backstory that involved double-crossing some friends of mine because my character didn't agree with their methods. The third trial was a text roleplay channel where we could interact with each other in character to get over the get-to-know-each-other phase. And the final test was a one-shot. It was a relatively simple combat-based session. We had a task from a farmer to kill a cave creature, which ended up being a Nothic. This was the first big red flag for even me, who knew nothing about D&D. When we reached the cave, 2 of our players immediately fall dead. We were level 3, to some psychic damage from whispers echoing through the cave. No saves, just dead. Okay, terrible, just terrible, but you'll never guess what the DM's justification for this is. Later, in private, Sia revealed to me that the reason he did this was to make sure they could handle a player death without raging. Congratulations! This is an excellent technique. Everybody, take notes. To anyone who has a close friend or romantic partner, every time you make an absurdly stupid mistake, tell them that it was all a test and that they passed the test. The look on their face will be priceless. Dude, this isn't a test. It's never a test. This is just gaslighting with extra steps. Instead of taking responsibility for messing up, if you reframe it, oh, I was just testing you by acting like an absurd egomaniac. If you don't immediately leave this person, even if this was a test, you failed. You failed the test. You tolerate a ton of bogus for no reason. Congratulations. Fell for it again award. Anyways, my way too early diagnosis is that the DM is extremely egotistical, self-centered in every sense of the word, putting people through weird tests. You know what? No, I wouldn't be surprised if he's making the test stuff up on the fly. I think he makes mistakes and then later reframes them as tests so that it looks intentional and not like he's just a terrible DM. Still, I might be assigning him unearned IQ points. Some people's heads are just on for decoration. Let's keep going. The fight went horrible. All players ended up dead or unconscious when a mysterious 11th character joined us. Pyotr. Pyotr one-shot the big ol' Nothic and rescued all of us, except the dead guys who had to re-roll. Pyotr was played by none other than the DM himself. But still, I passed the tests. Sia and I hit it off pretty well through our weeks of getting to know each other, and he was really teaching me all about D&D. I was in. He even made me a mod in his Discord server and gave me the objective of being his spokesperson, because too many people were reaching out to him in Discord. DM, buddy, if too many people are reaching out to you about one D&D campaign, you have too many players. Despite it being a terrible one-shot, I remember falling in love with the idea of the game, and I caught that first glimpse of what it's like to play D&D. My character was interesting, and there were others in the group that I still speak to today because of how fun they made it. But that one trial was the only bit of D&D that we would play for about 2 months. In November 2018, Sia was busy finishing the world, so the 75 players sat around in Discord with weekly promises of 30 of us, getting into the massive campaign that he was planning. Naturally, some people decided to leave, or just stopped showing up to the Discord meetings. We dwindled down to about 50 people by December. In December, Sia announced the 30 members that made the cut. It was pretty easy to see who was gonna make it, as there were probably only about 30 active members in the community. You know, this method for mistreating people is actually kind of genius. If you're looking to create an awful experience and just a terrible group, gather as many people as you can, collectively torment them so that everybody who has a sense of normalcy leaves, and then you're left with only people who will tolerate anything. Is this how cults grow? They cast like a net wide enough to catch everybody. Most people are turned off by it and immediately leave, but the few that stay are here for the long haul. They've demonstrated that you can do just about anything to them. I feel like we're on the cusp of some big social knowledge that I'm not exactly smart enough to fully understand. I bet that social experiments have been done in this spirit that I just don't know about. Anyways, let's get back to the story. Short recap, I'm new to D&D and think this is all completely normal. I thought everyone got in big groups of 30 to 50 people, and the DM just rotated games through their community. I thought players had to go through tests and pass trials to compete for positions on the team. January comes, and Sia hasn't spoken to the community for a week or two, and people are growing restless. As the middleman for Sia, I'm receiving a ton of messages asking why Sia isn't responding, when the games are gonna start, why everything is taking so long. I had no answers. Sia finally answered a Discord call in which he told me that he's bringing in more DMs and training them right now. They'll be ready by February. Hallelujah! I spread the news across Discord, and again we had a group of people leave the Discord. But I was holding strong. I had cemented my place in the main group and knew that when the campaign started, it would be worth the time devoted and the wait. February comes, people have lost all patience, and we have a mass exodus where we lose pretty much everyone except 20 people. Sia comes back to Discord and announces that because all the players had left, the community was closing and it was our fault for not being patient. We started in October, remember? Wait, so that makes it like October, November, December, January. That makes it 5 months, almost half a year. But they're not being patient enough. I was furious for a moment. Then I received a DM from Sia, a group DM, which included all the people I assumed had made the main group, and myself. This was our final test, he said. Dealing with bad news, and we all passed. and he gave us our rules session right there on the spot. Oh, this guy's insufferable. I was ecstatic. We had passed all the trials, conquered the tests, and landed a spot in an elite D&D group over 75 other hopeful players. He told us that we'd have one-on-one character session zeros to get us all into the same area. He then asked us to send our final versions of character stories by that evening. No longer than 3 pages, no shorter than 1. I kept the same rogue backstory as mentioned earlier, but added some names to the characters and some hooks for the DM to use. It's so painful to see a player who clearly deeply thought about how to make a good character and how to be a good player, and a DM who's ready to throw the whole experience away. I just want to climb in the DM seat and steer it out of Sia's hands. But unfortunately, playing in a bad game seems to be a canon event for a lot of D&D players. I've been through it, and judging by the sheer amount of submissions I get, chances are you've been through it too. But there is a silver lining. It makes for some crazy stories that make us laugh, cry, and cringe. And, you know, there are also a lot of cool parts that we can steal and add to our own games. Anyways, OP finally passed all of the crazy tests. This game was so exclusive, the DM must be amazing, and now we can finally hear how the game went that he tried so hard to get into. Let's see. I'm excited, guys. My session 0 comes up, and in the first 5 minutes, I asked to look around the crowd I was in to see if I could notice the 2 key characters from my backstory as they were looking for me. And my character was nervous. The DM said he had no clue what I was talking about, and it was painfully obvious that he didn't read my backstory at all. He instead told me that my character's mission was from the Thieves Guild, which I never said I was a part of. And he introduced me to another DMPC who was basically a master spy 10 levels higher than my own character. I followed that DMPC around until I stole a plot device crystal that gave me a superpower ability, and then put me on a boat with the rest of the players. That week, I voiced my concern to others, and they had similar experiences. No backstory references, and a DMPC that gave them a crystal in some way, and then put them on the boat. Luckily, that DMPC ended up being Pyotr from the one-shot, who was not only an accomplished thief, a prestigious war veteran, a culinary genius, a noble with political pull, and land in the Far Eastern Kingdoms, and a devout faithful messenger of the gods, I ran out of breath, and a skilled adventurer. Wow, lucky they have this guy on their side. If they didn't, they would have to struggle and overcome challenges. You don't want to do that. That's difficult, you know. Pyotr leads the way on this journey, and the players immediately hate him. He's the pompous ass of the group, and every time someone tries to roleplay, Pyotr is there to make sure he's the center of the action. While on the ship, we see an evil guy teleport ahead of us and create a maelstrom in the ocean. Pyotr is able to turn back the tide, while we fight mobs of enemies raining down on top of us and rocking the ship. All of us players go down, and Pyotr creates a glowing light that heals all of us and teleports the ship miles away from the fight. We recover, and Pyotr teaches us that the crystals give us power. A basic success or failure roll is D100. If it's 50 plus, we succeed on whatever superhuman task we want, and if we fail, it basically drops us to 0 HP. Okay, cool. Well, so we're not even playing D&D anymore, are we? Why are we even using dice? This is a coin toss simulator. I remember one of my earlier criticisms of how people treat nat 20s was that it gave a magical 5% chance that anyone can do anything. This is like that, but worse. I love it though. This is so exploitable. If I was in this campaign, I would just keep the tank of the group fully armored and equipped with healing items, and let all of the other party members go crazy. Every time they just keep throwing absurd abilities out there. One-shot this guy, you know, make the sky crack open, make meteors fall and destroy an entire kingdom. Every time they fall to 0 HP, pop a heal on them, maybe a good berry or something, and magic doesn't matter. Just bring them back up, try again, you have a 50% chance, and like 33 other party members, you're gonna do it. Realistically, the DM would quickly patch this, but seeing him panic would be pretty hilarious. And hey, if all of you die and some weird stuff happens, you're not missing that much of a campaign. This is so much fun. I'm a terrible person. This goes on for about 4 weeks before the rest of the players and I realize that we're not playing a game, we're watching the DM play a game against and with himself. I was the head mod and Sia's best friend in the group, so I spoke up and I said, in the nicest way possible, that we felt railroaded and unimportant. I found the actual message, lol. I want to preface this by saying that I mean no disrespect, I'm just voicing some concerns that have been getting heavier on my mind. I like where the story is going and I love your storytelling, but I want to be less railroaded by Piotr and other NPCs. It seems like with all the crazy stuff happening, we're being saved by NPCs or guided around like a herd of cattle. It makes our decisions seem less impactful. That's the end of the message. Sia apologized and seemed to really take our message to heart. The next week's session, we were ambushed by a meteor swarm casting demigod that could fly. We were level 2. We ran around rescuing people from burning buildings and putting out fires with water buckets. Piotr used fly and succeeded on his crystal power check and flew around in the sky like Superman punching asteroids and fighting the demigod. Even typing that now is just insane to think about. Okay, pause. If I remember correctly, they all have super powerful gambling crystals. Why weren't they flying around and bringing pain? Was the party assigned to pouring water and saving people, or were they just doing that because they felt like it? Either way, I get that they're not having fun at all, so I'm not really blaming them for not having fun in a boring campaign. But still, I can imagine it goes like this. Let's say you have 20 characters ready to fight. They cast fly, and that drops half of them to 0. It's okay, now you have 10 heroes in the fight still. Then, in midair, they all want to superhumanly punch asteroids into pieces. This drops another half of them to 0. Now you have 5 heroes falling from massive heights to their deaths, so the last 5 party members that are still flying can fly down to save them. Congrats! Now 75% of your party just went down and accomplished nothing. You know what? Now I get why they focused on saving people instead. I just talked myself out of that entire line of questioning. Did the DM not see this as a possibility? And again, I'm being generous. I'm saying it exactly lands on 50. There are possibilities. What if like 7 of them start falling and only 3 of them are still flying and are able to save them? Then 2 people die. It can't be helped. Okay, roll post. We had a German guy in the group that was basically just an experienced D&D player laughing at the absurdity of this. He called Sia out mid-session and Sia killed his character within the hour. He tried to make it slick like this was a mistake on the player's part, but as level 2s, we had no chance of accomplishing anything that he wanted us to do. An invisible member of the BBEG's army started combat with us by driving a dagger into our German dude's skull, killing him instantly if he failed a high DC dexterity save to dodge it. Obviously, the session was screwed from that point on. It was basically Sia explaining all the cool stuff his character was doing, then our characters making a strength check to pull a lady from underneath a burning log. We called it there, and the players just left. Sia was upset and sent us a seething DM about how we were in the tutorial area of his campaign, and Piotr was going to leave us the very next session, and we would be on our own in the sandbox that he promised us. I was done with D&D. I had experienced all that I wanted to. Too many politics, too many tests and trials, and I was shocked that this is what people had to deal with to have fun. Then the German dude reached out to me, and I told him my feelings about D&D, and he was flabbergasted that this was the only experience I had. He explained that this was far from the norm, and invited me to play some games with his group as a temporary player. I reluctantly agreed, and played normal, fun D&D for a couple weeks with them before my character took a well-established leave from the group. In those weeks, he read my backstory and played it well. He brought up characters from my character's past and made it a really, really enjoyable experience. I joined another group after that, and we've been together since early 2019, still going strong as the year passes over to 2021. Oh, this is an old story. It's crazy to me that I almost gave this up because of my experience with Sia, but I'm grateful for the German dude who took the time to show me that the game isn't anything like this. And so ends the rise and fall of the DM's world. German dude is easily my favorite character in this story and the type of person that I want to be if I ever find my way into one of these situations. He's enjoying himself, laughing a little at the absurdity of the situation, but when he finds out there was a new player in this group, he's like, nuh-uh, no way this is all the D&D you'll experience. In a world of Piotr's and Sias and victims, be a German dude. I like the German dude. Anyways, that's the story for today. Hope y'all enjoyed it. I had a blast reading it. As always, till next time.